Bill Scott, Edinburgh North and Leith Branch, to speak for motion 8 and against motion 9. I don't want to have to go through motion 9 line by line. I just would take the first couple of lines and say the SSP should be a socialist organisation fighting for the interests of the working class. Wrong, comrades. The SSP is a socialist organisation fighting for the interests of the working class. There's no should about it. It's not imperative. We are one. Secondly, we've seen we're taking orders for London. Gets in this party with the two main organisations that took their orders for London. And the answer to that is, I'm not taking any orders for London. The day this party starts taking its orders for London is the day I leave it, and I believe the vast majority of members would leave it. But I want to speak about why independence is the needs and interests of the working class in Scotland and the interests of the working class internationally. Scotland provides 1/3 of the frontline troops to the British Army. 1/3 in every major conflict that the British Army is currently engaged in. 1/3 of the troops on the front line are Scottish. What is the main enemy of the international working class at the moment? American imperialism. American imperialism, the epitome of capitalism, the epitome of adventurism for their own interests. Who is American imperialism's lapdog in every struggle that they take place? Who gives them the political cover for every adventure they engage in? The British state. The hammer blow that we could deliver by denying the British state the frontline troops to be involved in Afghanistan, in Iraq, yes, and in Iran, in Korea, is what we should be about right now. We should be denying them all of those troops. And the way that we can do that is to campaign now for independence, campaign tomorrow for independence, and keep on campaigning for independence until we have it. And the Scottish working class no longer are the foot soldiers of British imperialism and American imperialism. Vote in support of the motion in favour of independence. Vote down the motion 9. It is not in the interest of the Scottish working class, and it's definitely not in the interest of the international working class in Iraq, in Afghanistan, in Korea, and elsewhere throughout the whole of the world that look to us and actually say we've got a united socialist party that is putting their interests to the fore, putting them to the fore, campaign for independence.
Alan Armstrong, a member of Edinburgh South and also a member of the Republican Communist Network. I'm speaking here as a Scottish internationalist and socialist Republican. And the two motions we have, in actual fact, are almost mirror images of each other. One, I'd say, comes from a left unionist position, the other from a left nationalist position. And Bill got a lot of applause today by talking about the role of two London-based organisations. They did what they did in collaboration with a left nationalist, Tommy Sheridan. And that is the problem. That's exactly the problem. Next year's election is not going to be about unionism versus nationalism. I was in at the foundation of the Scottish Socialist Alliance in 1996 when huge numbers of people said, look, the real issue is getting Labour in next year to make sure the Tories no longer rule up to 20 years. That's what people were saying. The Scottish Socialist Alliance stood out against that and said, no, look carefully at where New Labour is coming from. They are going to continue the agenda set by the Tories. I say the same thing. Look carefully where the SNP are, the agenda they're setting up just now. They have removed the last but one person who supports independence and the social justice agenda from the shadow cabinet. The last but one. They're not interested in an independence referendum. They sent nobody to the march I was on last week, official person on that. In fact, it's something we put at the tail end of any executive they happen to be in. I can tell you what's far more likely next year is if Labour lose overall control and the SSP in a position to form an executive, it will be done in league with the Lib Dems. Not with the Greens, not with us, it'll be done with them. They will have an alliance, and that alliance will be a unionist nationalist executive, but what it will continue is the same agenda. Why is it the SNP at the moment, when Alex Salmond poo-poos Michael Muscles, grasping the thistle, flat tax, oh no, that's all right, we'll talk about that. You can see where they are coming from. Now, I am in favour, very strongly of moving to break up the UK. But we've actually got to say it will not be done leaning on the SNP. It will only be done totally independently of that. Look at everything the state is going to throw at us. Everything that the state has. It's not just these political parties who cannot be depended on. There's a whole wave of crown powers beyond that. Also linked in with NATO at the moment. You have got to stay openly and clearly now. If you do want independence, it can only be in the form of a republic and breaking from NATO. The idea, oh, we can ally with the Michael Frys, we can ally with the Michael Russells just now on the first stage, and then move to the second stage, is nonsense. They are in control at the moment, and they will not give up that. There's no peaceful period in which we can put forward or join together and then go afterwards and continue the fight with them. They will maintain their power all the way through that period. Therefore, I would argue against both of these positions on the basis of how we would unite with a British party. Our biggest strength is we were a united socialist party. Down in our alternative offered campaign for new workers' party, campaign for new Marxist party, respect. Down south, they can't unite themselves. Therefore, please, we're on the right basis by defending the SSP. Please, no illusions. Thank
you. Kathy Peterson, East Kilbride branch. I feel that sometimes education in the party is lacking, and I recommend the right of nations to self-determination. How the hell can we have an international position and take international positions when we can't even determine our own destiny? I stood in a referendum years and years ago, too many years ago to remember, with middle-class people, you know, because that's what it's about. If you want an objective, you've got to work for it. And this is not going to be handed to us in a plate. Now, people say that we're looking for a socialist state right away under independence. No, we're not. No, it won't come like that. The thing is, to reject independence out of hand means that you're willing to be in the position of a household where the man holds the purse and he tells you what you can buy. And that's the situation we've got in Scotland. Now, in the past, it has never stopped me from supporting other trade unionists, although I was born and brought up in Scotland, and I'm very proud to be a Ouija, as they say in the North East. But it doesn't stop me being involved in other debates. I've been in campaign for democratic rights in Northern Ireland. I've been down at Wapping. I've supported the miners. So I think this situation, we've got to realise that the ruling class always uses a divide and rule. My husband came from Denmark, same population as us, and he said to me, you know, it's a strange thing. We don't have any coal, gas, electricity, large-scale water. He said, but what we do have is we have fishing and we have design. And what a standard of living we have. If we go out of work, we get 80% of our wages paid to us. We've got kindergartens at every corner. We've got a fantastic educational system. We haven't got any oil. And he said, and you've got all these resources, oil, coal, gas. He said, and yet you're living in the past. And we are living in the past. Now, we'll not bring about a socialist Scotland tomorrow. But if you remember the interconnection of things, for us to raise the debate about independence and what we could do with our own money generates, if we did get independence in a capitalist state, brings about the interconnection of things, brings about the fact that we do not have democracy, proper socialist democracy. So don't let's play the game anti-English, anti-Welsh, anti-Scotland. Let's have independence for Scotland, not just Cabora Bassa.
Comrades, the first thing I'd like to say is to the comrade who said that one of the important things in this debate is that you don't want to take orders from London-based organisations, and look where that led you with the SWP, for instance. I think that's a complete red herring in this debate. I think the problems with the SWP and other organisations is their politics, not that because they're based in London. And if you really want to have a go at them, have a go at them about what they're saying about Iraq and the support for giving support to those people who advocate political Islam. Have a go at them about that, because that's the thing where they're really selling out the working class. Just on this, the thing I'd like to say on this is that I think supporting nationalist solutions to capitalist exploitation is a nonsense. The Scottish working class is exploited because we live under capitalism. They're fighting in a capitalist war because we live under capitalism. It's not because they're Scottish. The current campaign for Scottish independence, I think, involves the SSP aligning itself with the Scottish nationalists and sections of big business too, who think that they will benefit from Scottish independence. So it's not that you'll get Scottish independence and suddenly the ruling class will be on the run. I don't think that's the case at all. Again, there are sections of big business that support it. It isn't automatic that you suddenly get control of the purse strings of capitalists, of all the capitalist wealth that exists in Scotland. That just isn't true. And neither is it true that it will further take you down the road towards achieving socialism. The other thing that I'd like to say is that if you're supporting it because it will help the breakup of the British state, I think again it is missing the point. Marxists aren't against big states. We are not against the British state or even the bigger European Union. When bigger capitalist states exist, we unite the working class across those boundaries. We don't turn around and say what we need is more boundaries, more divisions among the working class. We say we need to unite the working class throughout Britain, throughout Europe and internationally. And that's what will put the ruling class on the run. They may, or the British ruling class may or may not like Scottish independence. They may fight against it, they may gradually let it happen. But the one thing that we can be certain of is that the thing that would really put the British ruling class on the run is a united working class movement, united across Britain and throughout the rest of Europe. That is the answer to how you achieve socialism in Scotland and in Britain and throughout the rest of Europe. There isn't any shortcuts. Independence isn't some shortcut to achieving socialism. If anything, it could help create more barriers by focusing us on putting our focus on nationalist answers and narrowing our focus rather than what we should be doing in the age of international capital is broadening our links, broadening the fight within the working class. That's how we'll achieve socialism. So I'd urge you, it isn't left wing to be nationalist. It isn't those of us who are saying we shouldn't be in favour of independence. It doesn't mean that somehow we're against achieving socialism. We think it's more necessary for the working class to be united internationally.